Thomas, man.
Nice to see you, Coach.
It's great to have you back in the house. Good to have you back in Montreal.
Yes.
Hey, listen, you're at home here. I want you to be relaxed.
Awesome.
I'm just excited. You know, before I even get started, Thomas, could you just say your last name for me?
Absolutely. Thomas Malawski. Malawski is my last name.
Say again?
Malawski.
See, I keep getting these challenging last names. It makes me feel really good because I grew up with my last name being being a challenge for anybody to say. But listen, I'm really excited. And one of the reasons I have you here today on the podcast for real people, real stories, and real inspiration, we call this the This Mind Power Podcast, because I want to go behind the athlete, behind the title, behind the hype.
Amazing.
I want to know who the real Thomas is today. So hopefully we can get into a conversation and really chat about, again, how you started, what your journey is about, right?
Absolutely.
So I want to just assume that I know nothing about the prep school route.
Perfect.
Right? Because I know you were a great hockey player, great student. Tell me about it. I'll let you do the talking.
Absolutely. So kind of give you a little bit about my background.
Yeah.
I live in a small town near Montreal called St Lazare.
Yes.
Where I grew up with my dad, my mom, my two siblings, brother and sister, and my dogs. Can't forget the dogs.
I can't forget the dogs, man.
I always had a passion for hockey at a very, very young age.
Right.
My dad really got me into it because he himself played college hockey and took that same route as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he lived in Winnipeg at the time, and he played at the University of Minnesota. So I was always inspired to kind of do what he did and kind of take like my own lead as well in terms of like what he did in his journey. And so that's kind of all how this all kind of began, and kind of the fact that I am now chasing this dream of one day playing college hockey. And so kind of getting at this kind of prep school route, like we're going to kind of delve into at a certain point. It's kind of like the first step to many in terms of what I want to be doing and my aspirations and goals to get there one day.
You know what inspires, what impresses me and inspires me, to be honest, is when a young athlete or a young student or a young person already has a clear idea where they're going. I think that's so. Every time I speak with you, I love the fact that you're so enthusiastic. You have such a positive energy, and that's going to come right through the camera and smack those people in the face. So I had to get you in the house for that.
Amazing.
Just your energy, your vibe, it's very important. I want to know how much that played a role in how you're progressing right now.
Absolutely. I think in life, you really have to be positive. You always have to look for the good. And that's how you really kind of get ahead of yourself. And I'm a big believer in kind of working hard and always kind of trusting the process, like you always talk about as well. And so the fact that I have a lot of faith in that process, I always kind of have that energy, that enthusiasm to keep pushing, to keep moving forward.
Right.
And so kind of always having that idea in the back of my head as well is very important to me.
That's very evident. It seems like you're pretty consistent in anything you do.
Thank you.
How much of a role did your father play in you deciding to take hockey as your main sport?
Absolutely. So my dad is probably my biggest inspiration in my life.
He's a hell of a guy.
Thank you.
He's a dad to a lot of kids. He's a hell of a guy.
Yeah, he's the one that really inspired me to kind of come onto this journey and kind of push myself every day. Like learning about his stories, learning about his experiences in the past. I've really been inspired to kind of reach that at some point in my life as well, and to kind of be like him in a way. And so it kind of pushes me every day, knowing that, you know, all the life lessons he's taught me in terms of work ethic, dedication, being consistent with your craft, and really making the necessary sacrifices to kind of get ahead. It's kind of shaped me as an individual.
Fantastic. I can imagine how huge a role he played, especially knowing him personally and how much he inspires other athletes. But like I said, this is real people, real stories, and real inspiration, my man.
Thank you.
So as much as I say great things about fathers and how much of a role they played, which is evident.
Absolutely.
Did you ever find anything difficult about your dad having done so well in the sport? Did you feel some kind of pressure? How was the dynamic with you and your father growing up playing hockey?
Absolutely. So he would always put a lot of pressure on me to kind of, because he knew my potential, right? He knew how badly I wanted it, and I still do really want it that bad. Yeah. So kind of, there was obviously there was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
No jealousy, no anything though, obviously. I want to make sure that like I push to my limits, and I really kind of surpassed
his expectations.
His expectations, exactly.
And your expectations.
And my expectations as well.
Right.
So I kind of use him kind of like as a guide, and he's only there to help me, to push me forward. So I'm really thankful to have someone like him.
Did he play that role where you felt like he was there as a support instead of as a support system
Yes,
for you,
absolutely.
rather than saying, you know, you've got to do this. Like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people
Yeah.
say that parents or fathers, not parents,
Yes.
fathers, look at the mothers already coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
Fathers try to live through their kids, right?
Yes.
So that wasn't the case with Jeff, was it?
my dad Jeff, he was strictly a support system. He always wants me to do well. I know he's very hard on me all the time, but I know it's because he wants me to do well.
You know what's interesting? I've got to say it, and I push you on those things because I know that's the case,
Yes.
right? Is I remember running into an outdoor rink once with my son Zian, and
Yes.
we were playing,
Love
and I
Zian.
was watching you play with your friends. But even when you played with your friends, I could see your passion for the sport.
Yeah.
So your discipline and work ethic transcends you working with a team, transcends your practices
Yes.
with your team, transcends the whole arena culture.
Yeah.
Even when there's nobody watching, you're still pushing hard and holding yourself to a high standard.
Absolutely. I think that in order to shine in front of thousands, you have to be willing to work in front of nobody.
Wow.
And kind of work in the dark and, you know, really do those sacrifices to get ahead. And I've always been a firm believer in that.
Well, that comes across pretty clearly.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
so talk to me about this prep school route, right?
Yes.
Why didn't you stay in Montreal? Why the US?
Absolutely. So the prep school route is really a great route for student athletes to kind of prepare for college.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of gives you, whether your goals are more academically inclined or athletically inclined, it kind of gives someone or like a young person like me the opportunity to kind of develop both in the classroom while being able to play my favorite sport.
Right.
Obviously in the United States, I'm in Connecticut, but there's also a lot of great prep schools in Massachusetts. You get great exposure to different colleges, different pro scouts. So kind of being in that environment where you're kind of competing and you're working with other kids that have the same objectives and goals as you do, you're just kind of setting yourself up for success.
Did you find that a bit daunting though, coming from Montreal, going to the States?
It's definitely very eye-opening to know the amount of kids that have the same aspirations, the same goals as you. But at the end of the day, it motivates me to work even harder.
Wow, see, that's what I like. It's like you're basing your passion or your ability to succeed is based on your self-belief. You believe you can do it.
Yes, a lot of the times you talk about self-leadership.
Yes.
And so I really take that into consideration. I'm really motivated by that in terms of taking 100% accountability for my actions, being, super dedicated to my craft, being willing to work hard, being willing to be consistent in what I do to get to the next level.
So is that an easier route or a tougher route, or is it just a preference, going to the States or staying locally in Montreal or in Canada?
Yes, so usually a lot of the people in the United States that go to prep schools have a bit more exposure in terms of like going to the next level, going to the college route. So I kind of took that as like a really good opportunity for me. So I worked really hard in Montreal to make sure like my grades stayed up. I did all the application processes for a lot of schools. And so I really thought that was the best route for me as a student athlete because I am a later developer. So kind of giving me those extra years to kind of develop at a prep school.
But one thing I do know about you though is your grades. You just mentioned grades right now, right? How much of a role does the grades play in the bigger picture? Is it really important? Like really?
It really is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
In a prep school, there's obviously so many different prep schools, right? There's prep schools that are more academic, less academic. In my prep school, I go to the Hotchkiss School. Okay. It's in Lakeville, Connecticut. Right. Grades are really important to get into that school. There's a pretty low acceptance rate. So keeping your grades in school, making sure you're really consistent with that plays a huge role. But there's prep schools for everyone. If you're less academically inclined and really more athletic, there's a million different prep schools out there. And it's about finding the right fit for you. And
even if you find the right fit, I guess where I'm going with that question, Thomas, is academics is always imperative, right? It's always a necessity. You can't bypass that. Absolutely. Or can you? Is that, I'm trying to find out.
Yes.
You can't bypass having good grades because you are excellent in school.
Thank you so much.
From what I've read and what I've heard, you've made your academics your top priority. And then you matched it up with sports. It wasn't like sports was more important. Somehow you've managed to excel in both.
Yes.
Not all athletes do that.
I really appreciate the comment. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But obviously, like grades for me, I've been shaped at a really young age. My parents always told me that academics come first. You really have to focus on your grades because that's what's going to build your future at the end of the day. And obviously, I've had to really work hard for everything I get in life. Like, I'm not a really gifted athlete, so I don't have really that opportunity to kind of like not really care about my grades.
Right, you could have fooled me.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, I definitely think in my eyes that grades are really, really imperative, like you were were talking about.
But you can't get away with it, can you?
I don't think you can. Wow. I really don't think
Thanks for being honest about that. You talked about your hard work and your work ethic, right? Do you think talent surpasses hard work, or hard work surpasses talent at some point?
I think that hard work, in my personal experiences, I really think that you need to be hardworking. All my talent has come from really making those sacrifices, working hard. And I don't know if you ever watched the basketball movie with Adam Sandler in it.
Yes.
And he said, obsession will be talent every day of the week. And I completely agree with that statement. You have to be obsessed with your craft. You have to be so determined and just passionate about what you do to get to that next level, to get where you want to be. And when you have someone like that, who's that obsessed, who's that kind of consistent with his craft, I really think that that's what's going to get him to that
What does obsession look like for you?
Obsession.
What is obsession? Because I speak to a lot of athletes and they say they work hard. And I'm thinking, what does working hard look like for this athlete?
Yeah.
I see some people that want to quit on their visions, on their dreams, and on their passion. You talk about how much you love it. Yeah. There's some people that say they love it, but the first challenge they get, they're talking about quitting the sport.
Yeah.
But these are the same athletes that told me they were really passionate about the sport.
Yeah.
So I guess it's relative. What does passion look like? What is it to be obsessed?
Absolutely. So passion and obsession is being willing to overcome all the challenges that come your way, because you just have that goal in the back of your mind. You have that objective, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to really reach that one day. And so being obsessed to me is wanting every single day to better myself. I wake up every single day and I have that goal. And I'm not perfect. Right. Absolutely, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I do slack off. Sometimes I'm not perfect whatsoever. But at the end of the day, I always try to do my best to get myself better and get myself to that next level every single day. And I try to better myself by 1% every single day.
So that's awesome. Now, do you set goals?
Yes, I think that without goals, there's no dream. I think you have to set yourself small goals along the process to kind of really gain that momentum, gain that confidence that you always talk about and emphasize. And so giving those little goals, planning those little goals are absolutely needed.
A lot of people talk about, when I ask them what are their goals, and they tell me their biggest aspirations.
Yes.
I want to get in the NHL, or I want to do this, and I want to do that.
Yes.
Which I can appreciate.
Absolutely.
But I also believe what is your goal for today?
Today, my goal.
They can't tell. They can tell me their 5-year plan, but I want to know what your today plan is.
Absolutely.
So what's your today plan?
Today, my plan was obviously
not literally today, but your immediate plans.
Of course. Yeah. So my plans going along the line is I'm at a prep school right now. I'm a junior. It's my first year at a prep school. I'm a repeat junior, so I repeated.
Yes.
Yeah. And so my goal this year is to have a really successful year in terms of kind of getting used to that level, because it was a jump from kind of the Quebec level. I played in the RCQ Division 1 to that prep school. It's a big jump. So obviously kind of getting used to that level, really gaining my confidence, making sure I'm staying consistent in the gym, and all those different aspects of the game that are needed for next year. I really want to prepare myself next year, because I really want to do well next year as well.
That's fantastic.
Next year is kind of the year where I'm really kind of holding those high expectations of myself.
So you have a goal to excel next year.
Excel next year.
And you're doing what's required to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Well, how big a role does confidence play in this picture?
Oh my God. Hockey, especially in the sport that I play, which is hockey, confidence is essential. Every single game where I am not as confident as I should be, I don't do well. And I really think what you emphasize, confidence, comes from preparation.
That's right. Absolutely.
I 100% agree with that. When I am prepared and I am feeling ready for that game that day, I am the most confident player on the ice.
That's right. I say it often. I'm sure you've seen this on one of my videos. You don't prepare on game day, do you?
Absolutely. It's months and months ahead. Absolutely.
It's a whole lot of preparation.
Absolutely.
And game day is where you showcase the work.
Exactly.
You don't come to game day to do the work.
You don't do the work. Exactly.
You don't do the work on game day.
Exactly.
So at least I know that you understand the importance of confidence,
yes.
Right? Now tell me how you react when things don't quite go your way. How do you deal with that? Because you know what? If I'm watching you and seeing how you played and seeing you outside of the arena, you seem like you've got it all together.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, thank
you. But nobody's perfect, right? You just said that.
Yes.
So how do you respond when you face challenges?
Absolutely. Well, I think failure is needed in order to succeed one day. I really take failure as stepping stones to success, and kind of learning from those failures, learning from those drawbacks. And I always see myself kind of questioning myself. I always question myself, is this really worth it? I always see myself kind of questioning when things don't go well. And I have complete faith in my process. I have complete trust in the process, always, like you talk about. And that makes me want to push even harder when I face failure. It makes me want to go even harder and really work harder to reach those goals.
I've always said this too, is that failure is information.
Yes, it really is. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It tells you what you need to work on.
Exactly.
As a person, as an athlete, as a working professional, when you fail, that's an opportunity for you to be a better person.
100%.
You see what I'm saying?
I 100% agree.
Could you give me an example of where you've been disappointed
Absolutely.
in your career, and how you've had to respond heartbroken? Because there's a lot of kids out there, they think they're no good because they faced a cut. They got cut out of a team, got benched by their coaches.
Yes.
What would you say to that?
I think my biggest failure in my life was in Pee Wee AAA.
Yeah.
I was probably around 11, 12 years old. Sorry. And my friends all made the team while I got cut from the team. It was at Arsenal, my first year Pee Wee AAA.
Right.
And that year, I was incredibly motivated to prove everyone wrong, and to prove myself, and to prove what I was
After
capable
you
of.
got cut, or before you got cut?
This was after I got cut.
Okay.
I really used, my dad coached me that year alongside PJ Stock. He was a former NHL hockey player.
Right.
So they both worked on developing my skill that year, really kind of influencing me to kind of keep pushing no matter what happens to me.
Right.
And I really used that year as kind of like a stepping stone, using failure and overcoming failure to achieve success. And that following year, I made the team, which was probably the best gift that I could have ever asked for.
You see, here's the thing. When you go through a challenge and you become successful at it, it's very rare that people ask you what challenges you went through.
Absolutely.
Or how many times you failed, right?
Yes, exactly.
All we do is we just applaud that you made it.
Yeah.
So when you go through that challenge, it's important to keep faith, knowing that eventually you will make it through, like you just did.
Thank you.
I appreciate you know what I'm saying?
That.
You got caught, but you stuck to it, and that came through for you.
Exactly.
You got selected the next time. How did that make you feel getting selected
Honestly,
after you got cut
I was
by the same team?
So happy. Like, honestly, achieving something after you work so hard for it is the best feeling in the world. Honestly, like facing that adversity, facing all those challenges and all those obstacles, and finally achieving that goal is the best feeling in the world.
When you do you have a girlfriend?
I don't.
Wow, your parents got lucky with that. You got no distractions.
Exactly.
So family, how do you find family a huge support system for you, even though you're away from family and you're out in Connecticut, right?
Yes. Yes, Connecticut, exactly.
Yeah. Do you find the need for family to have your attention? Because everybody loves your little brother.
Yes, of course.
The mom wants her son.
Yeah.
Do you find that you got homesick when you left?
Honestly, I was just so determined to reach that goal. I wanted to go to prep school for so long that I never really got homesick. Yeah. But I do call my parents every other day, and having their support, even when they're so far away, is honestly amazing. I wouldn't be where I am today without my parents, because they're just so supportive. They're so helpful in terms of everything I do in life, and all those objectives of playing college hockey one day. They're just always there to support me. They come see my games. So it's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, if you, how many times do you come home?
I come home, so I went back home for American Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And Christmas break. I have one more break in March, and that's about it. So I have 3 breaks throughout the year.
Okay, tell me a little bit about the transition, though. I really want to keep these kids out there informed. They're excited. They're trying to figure out, am I going to go to prep school in the U.S.? Am I going to stay here?
Yes.
What is that transition like? It can't not... For you, it seems like it was okay, but surely that's not an easy path to take emotionally. You're at home all the time, and suddenly you're away from screaming at Mom, get me the cereal, Dad, drive me over here, I'm gonna take me to my friends.
Absolutely.
To leave that comfort and that familiarity, and go to the U.S. How was that transition? Even with being on teams where you were you respected as an athlete, or did you have to go to the back of the line?
Okay.
Because the coaches were not familiar with you. I know I'm throwing a couple of
Yeah, no,
questions
of
at
course.
you, but I want you to
Absolutely.
go at it.
Yes, thank you. So I left home when I was 17. So I'm not going to lie, that's pretty old.
Yeah.
But for younger kids who kind of develop at that young age and who already are at that peak and who already kind of really want to go to the prep school at like 13, 14, 15,
Right.
like at a really young age, I guarantee you guys that it's such an easy transition. You're really moving into a community
Right.
of people who all have the same objectives as you do, who really want to help you, who really want to see you succeed. And so the transition from home to prep school was the easiest thing in the world. I couldn't have asked for a better transition at Hotchkiss, at my prep school.
Did you prepare for that? Did your parents prepare you for that transition prior to going there? Did you feel like that helped?
Yes, absolutely. Kind of preparing myself, kind of learning about the school as well, learning about the people, and kind of all the preparation in terms of like learning about the people, learning about the community, finding different ways to kind of really kind of show yourself in that community. It really helped.
Academically, did you find that in the U.S. it was tougher for you to kind of fit in there academically? Did you feel like you were right there? The education you got here worked out for you over there?
Honestly, I went to Cooper Academy, which is a private English
you went to Cooper?
I went to Cooper.
It's a great school.
So honestly, the Cooper prepared me perfectly. Like they honestly, I had to work really hard at Cooper to maintain those grades because they are very rigorous. They are very kind of demanding in terms of the homework.
Especially on academics.
Yeah, it's crazy, but kind of all of those struggles that I had I was there for 3 years.
Yes.
All the struggles I had there for 3 years really prepared me for Hotchkiss.
Paid off.
It really did.
All that extra homework.
Yeah, it did.
Driving all the kids crazy.
It is, but it really does pay off in the long run.
And then with hockey? How was that with hockey?
Hockey, the transition, honestly, I went from playing in a high school Division I league to a prep school. So the jump was there. It definitely is a lot quicker in the United States. But I try to, work my hardest to kind of keep up. And I really do think that I'm doing well at that level.
Right.
Obviously, there's still some barriers. There's still some parts of my game that I have to fix.
Of course.
But I'm always willing to work hard to fix them.
I love your attitude, man.
Thank you.
love your
Thank
energy.
you.
I think it's going to get you a long, long way.
I really appreciate it.
So I got to throw this at you, though.
Yeah, of course.
This one's coming from the left field.
Okay.
You ready, my man?
I hope so. I hope so.
All right. So I need you to describe your personality. If I was to say, if you had to give yourself a superhero name, what would you think would be your superhero name?
Oh wow. Oh man. So a good if I would describe myself in, I would say 3 words, I'd be like resilient, loyal, and really empathetic. I think that those are 3 words that would really describe me. In terms of a superhero name,
I need a superhero. Okay, let's do this. Let's make it easier.
Yeah.
Let's make it easier. So you got siblings, right?
Yes.
What, brother? I know your brother very well.
Zach and Jamie, my younger sister.
Your younger sister.
Yeah.
What would your younger sister
call me?
What would your younger sister call you? She's the youngest in the family, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
what would the youngest one call you?
Wow. That's a really good question.
I want to check in with that.
Yeah.
I told you it was coming from left field.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think my sister, with her, I really have a really close relationship with my sister. She really does see me work hard all the time in terms of like in the house when I leave.
That's awesome.
So, a superhero name. Wow, that's a tough question. Could it be like a superhero that's already like on Earth, or is it just like a made up kind of superhero?
It could be either one of them.
Wow.
Listen, I knew I'd get him.
Yeah,
he was moving way too smoothly, right? I knew I'd get him.
Oh wow. A superhero name. Oh man, I'm really having trouble with this.
Okay, which one would be the closest one?
Like the close to a superhero name?
Yeah. Which one do you like?
I really love Batman.
You love Batman?
I like Batman. Yeah. Superhero. Yeah, I love Batman. Kind of, his hard work, his dedication. He's super capable.
Right.
And so I love that superhero.
You know what? I'm gonna do this. I want to make sure you get back to me on a superhero name.
I will. I absolutely will.
I'm going to add it to the pot. You heard him say that, right?
Yes.
He owes me a superhero name.
Absolutely.
We're not letting him get away with it.
I will.
I got to tell you, man, I am so glad we got to do this podcast. It wasn't even planned. I met you. Your energy just got at me. I was like, I forget how cool this kid is. I forget how cool you are. Yeah. So I'm glad I had a chance to catch you on the podcast.
It was a great experience.
And I know that the kids out there are gonna love listening to you about your experience coming from here to prep school over there, and your aspirations and your goals, right?
Yes.
Are you confident you're gonna make this goal?
I really am. If I stick to my craft and I do whatever it takes to achieve that goal, I trust the process, and I always will trust the process.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you being here,
Thank
man.
you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
This is my power.
Mind power.